and welcome to Art and the Word. This is your friendly paint show with me, Nicole Georges Bennett, as your paint guide as we do this art appreciation, which incorporates the talents that the Lord has given to us and blessed us, and we try to use it for His glory. So, of course, Art and the Word is all about art, but it's also about the Word of God and finding inspiration from His Word. So I always like to begin with either a Bible verse or some sort of reference that ties into our painting. However, today, our painting is actually based off of a photo that I saw of a flyer. So there's a whole story behind that. I'll tell you about it later. So what I've decided to do is to find an inspirational devotional while not necessarily tying in with our particular art piece today, is still something that will touch and bless your heart. So here we go. So I found this really great website. It's called christianperspective.net, and they have some devotionals, encouragement to help you on your way. So I thought that I could explore that site for a bit and see what sort of inspirational words that they have to share. And I found this really great one, and it's called When You Don't Feel Like It. And you might be wondering, that's sort of a cryptic title there. What does that mean? So it has to do with when we don't feel like doing the things that are our spiritual disciplines, like praying or reading our Bible or fasting. So we're going to start off with the title again, When You Don't Feel Like It. We all struggle with spiritual discouragement and lethargy. Some days our circumstances threaten to overwhelm us, and we struggle just to pray. Many times we just don't feel like doing the things we know we should. For one reason or another, God seems far off and unapproachable. David faced times like these in his life. The Psalms are filled with verses that express his despair and feeling of abandonment. Yet the Psalms also give us the key to living victoriously during the dark periods of life. Let's take a quick look at Psalms 119, verses 89 to 95. It says, Forever, O Lord, your word is settled in heaven. Your faithfulness continues throughout all generations. You establish the earth, and it stands. They stand this day according to your ordinances. My circumstances or feelings have not changed God. He is the same God today as he was when he hung the stars in the sky, led the Israelites through the Red Sea, and fed the 5,000. For all things are your servants. All things, even the things affecting me right now, are God's servants. The circumstances, the people, the events around me are all under God. They are his servants designed to help and bless me spiritually. If your law had not been my delight, then I would have perished in my affliction. I will never forget your precepts, for by them you have received me. I am yours. Save me, for I have sought your precepts. The wicked wait for me to destroy me. I shall diligently consider your testimonies. Recalling God's faithfulness and control over everything that touches us gives us the strength to walk with God even when we feel like giving up in despair. After all, our feelings and circumstances have not changed God. He is perfectly capable of sustaining us if only we let him. We simply need to choose to delight in and diligently consider God's precepts. That means his principles and his character, despite how we feel. Choosing to delight in God might not be easy. It might even involve hard work, but only God can revive and save our soul from spiritual lethargy. Next time you feel spiritually drained or inadequate, remember that you have a choice. You can wrap yourself up in excuses and self-pity, or you can choose to draw your strength from an unchanging God. So that wonderful little devotional came to us from christianperspective.net. If you just do a Google, you can just do inspirational devotionals, and that one's going to pop up. And this is from their series Short Inspirational Devotional. So I really hope that that spoke to your situation today, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that. But first, I've got to give a shout out to our sponsors, eFlow Hair Salon. Thank you so much to our sponsors. So that's eFlow Hair Salon, and you can look them up because where you look and feel matters to them. So their contact information and where they're located and where you can go and get your hookup is all included in today's program. palm tree. I have to keep trying to remember not to get my big head in front of the painting so that you can actually see what I'm doing. Oops. So that came out a little too thick. So I'm going to have to go back over that. So I'm just sort of what we call scrumbling up a little bit. Just adding some little interesting features to our tree. Basically to cover over my mistake there. So hopefully that works. And then I'll just sort of take it down a little bit. So now we've added some color and some interest to our trunk here. Oops. And that's how you take a mistake and make it work for you. Because if I had not done that, I probably would not have had this idea. So Bob Ross calls them happy little accidents. All right, there we go. Beautiful. So I'm just adding some texture to our bark here. Okay. Makes it look a lot more interesting. Good. So good. So now we're back to our people. Actually, I forgot. We've got to do our palm fronds. Our coconut tree fronds there. So we are going to move into... I'm using the same brush throughout. I'm using my small brush throughout. You can change brushes as you go, but I just find this one's working well for me today, so why not stick with it? Why change horses midstream? I'm just going to change the shades of green so that it's a little bit more interesting. So I've gone here for a really dark shade of green. All right. Okay, so the palm trees took a little bit longer than I would have thought. So, but here we go. So now we are going to finish off our figures. Going to add just a touch of green to our leaves on our basket. I'm almost convinced that I need to add some green to this boat. What do you think? Just adding a little green there. So I need to give her some green earrings. I do think that I will add a little bit of, I think I will add green to our boat. And we might choose to reflect that in her head wrap, which I think is a good move. I think that's a good move. So let's do her head wrap first. Let's see how that looks. So the head wrap is really interesting because on my island we have a way of wrapping a plaid cloth called madras, and we wrap it on our heads and for cultural events, and it's called a tête cassée, which literally means broken head, but I'm sure it means something a bit, there's a bit more to it in the Creole language which we speak. So in the French islands, St. Lucia, and I guess most of the Caribbean islands, the women wrap their hair with these colorful pieces of cloth and came up with all of these very interesting shapes and designs and ways of wrapping it, coming down to us, of course, from our African ancestors. So what we have here is, and I'm just using my brush in little circles to kind of add some texture to the cloth. There we go. And we're going to echo that color in our boat. So that way that makes them more of a pair. really hope that you do your own devotionals every day. It's always good to read the Word of God, absolutely. And there are some really great devotionals out there that can sort of help put things into perspective or to give you a bit more of an understanding of what you've read in the Word to make it applicable to your life, or just to put it in a context for the modern day. But of course, everything that is written in the Bible is still, in terms of God's instructions to us, Jesus' instructions to us, are still very, very relevant. He is an unchanging God, and He understands our human nature intimately, having walked in our shoes, so to speak, walked in our flesh, walked in our skin, walked in our bones. So the words that were shared 2,000 years ago are still very relevant for us today. So I think this is working out really well. There we go. And maybe just for a little bit of interest, let's change up the shade of green. Let's make this a truly Caribbean boat. Very colorful. Sorry about that, folks. I just realized I got my head again in your line of vision there. I've been really exploring some new paint ideas to share with you. A lot of them seem to be floral. I seem to be getting into a floral theme. I really planned for more beach scenes than we've ended up doing, so I will do some beach scenes, but I think as we're getting into the fall, that is probably something to save for next summer. Okay, there we go. So our gentleman is wearing a white pair of pants, so I'm just going to go back over those so that they stand out a bit more. What we've got going on right now is just the canvas where I just drew in the sketch. I tend to sketch what I'm going to be painting first. I do find it a bit easier to keep track of. Sometimes when I'm painting, of course, the sketch gets covered up and then I'm like, okay, where did I put these pencil lines? But so far so good. He's wearing white pants on this boat trip. I don't know if that's a good idea. But I guess he's just very fashion forward. How about that? So one of the final details we're going to be putting in will be the skin tone, as I mentioned. So as I mentioned also before, what we're doing is we're not going to do it exactly as I saw it on the flyer, which was just, they were just painted in black because it was just primary color, all primary colors, and they just chose to do a very jet black skin tone. I think I wanted to just do something a little bit with a bit more dimension to it. So even though this color is going to be very dark, sorry, it won't be jet black. At least that's the plan. It is looking jet black, so I'm going to try to tone that down a little bit. I'm actually using red and orange in my black color to kind of give it more of a brown, dark brown tone. Okay, come in. Come in. And this is my husband. My son interrupting my paint video.
I apologize, but never else movie close now.
No, it's for Monday. It's for Monday. Aren't you having soup?
No.
Oh,
I just wanted to
just a little bit then.
thank you.
How's the soup coming on?
How's
the soup coming on?
One
So did you put it to warm up? You did? With the fresh meat and everything?
fresh meat, all that.
No, but
I
is
didn't
it
eat
is it simmering?
No, I didn't turn it on.
Yeah, you have to turn it on. You can't. That's raw meat. So it's still a bit dark. A bit darker than I wanted it to be. So I'm going to just keep adding red, orange, till I sort of get the tone that I would like. There we go. So I think I like that. Let's see.